Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So we're learning a lot more now about why these companies are deciding to go woke, despite the boycotting, despite the backlash, every time, despite losing billions upon billions. People keep asking, why haven't these companies learned from Bud Light? They keep going woke over and over again. They keep shoving ideologies down our throats over and over again. Even companies that you would least expect it from, companies like North Face, that have nothing to do with politics or gender ideology or drag queens. They're deciding to incorporate all of those things into their branding, into their business. Why? So it's become apparent that these companies are essentially being forced to go down this route because their stakeholders behind, who back these companies, they have a lot of power, they have a lot of money. And we've all heard of BlackRock, we've all heard of Vanguard, and they're essentially running the show. And they essentially want to control how people think. They want to, set the narrative, set the tone. And these companies are being forced to facilitate in that. Now, many of them are willing, don't get me wrong. I'm sure many of them are willing because, they're run by people who are very woke. But at the same time, I'm sure many of them don't want to lose billions upon billions. They don't want their stock to go down. They don't want the market value of their stock to dramatically fall. They don't want to lose sales, lose business. They don't want their employees suffering. They don't want their distributors suffering. But unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. And they're being forced to do that regardless. So let's take a look.
Who are these companies? Companies like Vanguard, BlackRock, the companies that own major stakes in Target or Disney. So with all that shareholder clout, they can force these companies to do whatever they want. They confess this is what they're doing.
Behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors. What we are doing internally is if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted, okay? You have to force behaviors. And if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted.
So we went from the customer's always right to screw you. This is all because rich white liberals on Wall Street feel guilty about being billionaires. So they force companies to go woke to pay off the social justice gods.
So, there you have it. That essentially sums up and explains exactly why these companies are going down the route that they're going down. And before I get into it, I just want to say it's up to the people to take a stand against this, because they will try and control how you think, try and control what your beliefs are, and punish you for your beliefs relating to things, as he said, gender, race, probably climate change, things of that nature. And they're going to continue to force these things down our throats. And it's not going to stop. Clearly, we've seen this. Again, we have the answers now as to why Target went down the route it went down, although Target have always been weird. And various companies following suit after what happened to Bud Light. They're still going down that route. And the big players at hand are the ones controlling everything, or at least attempting to control everything. Force behavior. You have to force behavior. They believe that they can use their power, they can use their money to force people to think and act a certain way, to force people to have certain attitudes towards their agendas. So let's take a look. Woke corporate governance, which recently led to the fiscal hemorrhaging of Anheuser-Busch and Target, often begins with investment firms pressuring them to behave in certain ways, a former executive at the beer conglomerate said. Anson Fredericks told Jesse Walters Primetime a lot of the lead up to decisions such as the one at his former firm involving transgender activist Dylan Mulvaney that led to a nationwide boycott of Bud Light stem from the politicking of firms like New York-based BlackRock and Pennsylvania-based Vanguard. Altogether, BlackRock, Vanguard, and another firm, State Street, manage about $20 trillion in capital, Fredericks said. noting it is not truly their money, but that of the investments of Americans' mutual funds and state pension funds. Let's take a look at what he said.
Let's bring in Anson Frericks. He's a former Anheuser-Busch executive and co-founder of Strive Asset Management. So how does this actually work? These guys are telling the truth?
Jesse, thanks for having me this morning. I mean, here's how it works. It's pretty simple. You just have to follow the money. You take a look at BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard. They manage $20 trillion worth of capital. But it's not their own money. This is the money of everyday citizens, firefighters, police officers, doctors who generally have their money either via 401ks or in a lot of cases, large pension funds. Large pension funds like the state of California, which manages the largest pension fund in the U.S., and the state of New York, and then European pension funds as well. And a lot of the politicians in those states, in California, for example, they recently have mandated those large pension funds that they divest from things like fossil fuels and oil and gas. And then when Bill de Blasio, mayor of New York, was there, did the same thing. But they also tell BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, if they're going to manage their money, they have to commit to things like ESG, diversity, equity, inclusion, and adopt firm-wide commitments that they therefore then force onto all the major companies in corporate America.
So the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, says to a BlackRock, we're not going to send you our $100 billion state pension if you're going to invest in ExxonMobil. We're only going to send it to you guys if you guys are going to invest it in woke companies. And then that's what these places do. They invest it in these woke companies. They make them woker, and then everybody gets paid. You left Anheuser-Busch because of some of these shenanigans. What happened there?
Oh, I left Anheuser-Busch, not necessarily because of Anheuser-Busch, but a lot of other companies. I was living in Atlanta, for example, during the 2021 time period, and you had the citizens of Georgia. They voted for representatives to make sure we could have election integrity laws. You have to have an ID to vote. And for that ID to vote, this seemed like it was a pretty logical law. I was kind of surprised in Georgia didn't have it. But what was crazy to me was that after the fact, BlackRock came out and they said, we're against this law. We think this is bad for democracy. This is bad for society. And they basically then had companies like Coca-Cola, like Delta, and heck, even Major League Baseball. They canceled an all-star game over this. And when I was seeing this was bad for capital markets because instead of these companies just delivering soft drinks or heck, doing Major League Baseball, they're getting involved in these political issues. That's bad for these companies because they're alienating a lot of their customers, as we're seeing right now with firms like Anheuser-Busch. But frankly, it's bad for democracy as well. Citizens should be able to decide these things through free and fair elections, not necessarily with a small group of asset managers and CEOs that are telling individuals how to live their lives.
Yeah, I remember when the left used to hate Wall Street, and now they love Wall Street because Wall Street's woke just like they are. Thank you so much for joining us.
Wow, so that explains it all. So next time one of these companies go down that route, we know exactly why. And, you know, some of them are being forced. Others are willing, doing this willingly. And it's all to control how people think. It's all to control how people respond to their nonsense. Frericks said he left his post at the St. Louis beer manufacturer in part because of the way much of corporate America was acting in terms of defying public sentiment when engaging in politics. He pointed to Atlanta, home to Coca-Cola and Delta Airlines, which became outraged after Georgia's legislators passed election integrity laws. Frericks said he was living in the city at the time and witnessed these companies' corporate responses to the legislative process, as well as that of Major League Baseball, which punished the state by moving the All-Star game to more progressive Colorado. So if they don't like something, they're going to punish that community, they're going to punish that city and take away resources, take away business from that city if the governors or the mayors are not in line. And we're going to probably see more so in red states that these companies are going to come down hard on them. Imagine a company that's supposed to just be focusing on their brand getting upset about election integrity laws, about people requiring ID. So if the company is backed by BlackRock and Vanguard and those sort of companies, then you can be sure that more than likely at some point they're going to go woke. Or they'll be punished. As he says, you have to force behaviours. So in a statement to Fox News, a BlackRock spokesperson said the nearly 6-year-old clip of Fink from the conference misconstrues Larry's words about BlackRock's own approach to its employees has been circulating for years on social media and is often taken out of context. As a fiduciary, BlackRock's actions serve one purpose: maximizing long-term financial value for our clients. As an employer, BlackRock seeks to hire employees from a wide range of backgrounds and perspectives because we believe this diversity is crucial for delivering for our clients in a rapidly changing world, the spokesperson said. So, do you believe those words were taken out of context? Do you think that it explains why these companies are going woke now, and that BlackRock, Vanguard, companies as such believe they should force behavior? Or do you think perhaps his words were taken out of context? So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.